Hi, it's Glenn McQueenie, and thanks for joining me on my 25-minute success series podcast. Today, we are joined by Alexander Umanets from Sutton Group Old Mill, and that's a brokerage in Toronto, Ontario. And Alex, welcome, and thanks for joining me on the call.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Great. So, can you just tell me a little bit about your background, like how long you've been in the business, and maybe just a little bit of what you did before that, and where you'd like to take your business for 2018, and then we'll go have some fun discovering what to do.
I got my license in November 2017, and I'm now in the process of defining my niche and to find out how to generate leads and so on. My background is like in 2004 when I bought my house. And the next year I bought another house and rented it and renovated it and sold it in 2 years for profit. And right now I have investment property condo in Richmond Hill, and it's rented also. And I have another extensive experience with the renting and renovating.
Okay. So, who do you like working with the most? Because there's 52,000 agents on the Toronto Real Estate Board. It's not like there's a shortage right now. There's not like the public's up in arms screaming, "Hey, we need more agents." So the big challenge now is how do you stand out in a very crowded field of agents, especially if you're new in the business, and build a really great book of business. So who would you, if we had to pick just one type of person who you'd really like to work with, who would be kind of like a dream come true client for you?
Ideally, I would like to have a mentor who will help me with the basics of this business, especially in how to talk to people, what to say, and how to handle objections, and how to find the leads, people who sell or buy properties. Those are main things, I believe, to start.
Right. So, those are all very true and valid. I mean, I think that's the foundational stuff that you need to learn in real estate. But a lot of real estate is kind of trying to get off to a fairly quick start. And I would really strongly recommend that you work with people who, A, are probably most like yourself, or are people who are planning to do what you've just done, because you'll have a lot of confidence meeting with a buyer who's thinking about buying a house, doing a renovation, and then selling it for a profit. I mean, would you feel comfortable if I sent someone who wanted to do that to you? Like, you could probably add a lot of value to them, couldn't you?
Yes, because I have experience in this area.
Right.
And I can recommend which property is suitable for investment, what kind of tenants you need to look for, and and what to renovate and what do not do in the renovations.
Right, and because that's where you're most confident right now, like you can honestly talk authoritatively about this because you've made the mistakes, you've already failed forward, you've already done a lot of the hard work and the heavy lifting. I'd probably suggest that might be a market that you might want to go after, because learning the broader real estate market takes a long time. Like, learning a lot of the different areas, or learning how to deal with, like, what's a renter need, what does an investor need, what does a senior moving down need, what does a divorced couple need. All of these are all very, I would say, unique skills that you need. And I think, and part of the reason I wrote this book too was really my argument to agents that said, listen, just bring you and your natural abilities and your experiences to a target market of people that you'd love to serve, because you already feel pretty comfortable with the knowledge of serving those people. And then the rest of it is just the technical stuff of real estate, drafting up an offer, presenting offers. You've already read offers. You've already bought and sold homes before. So it's not going to be that hard for you to learn that side of it. But there is a big gap, I would say, with most realtors right now who don't know what the true renovation costs are of turning one property into a higher valued property, what the costs are, what are the permit process. Like there's a lot of that background, Alex, that you already have that you could bring into your marketplace.
Yeah, correct. Even more, I know how to do renovation myself. I'm handyman, so
Right.
it's from the framing to the plumbing and electricity. So I can talk about it professionally.
Exactly. And that's what people really want because most agents don't know much about that stuff at all. Like they know the concept, they know how you have to do. They can go to like some of the home inspection reports they've been on and maybe give rough ideas of what it's going to be to put in a kitchen or a bathroom or change windows, but none of them have that hands-on skill. And what I think the biggest way that you can add value to the transaction, and this is your, I would call your unique selling proposition, is by meeting somebody and say, listen, I've already done these flips. I know how to build a house from the bottom up. I know how to frame. I know how to plumb. I know what good contractors are. I know what bad contractors are. I know how to make sure you don't get ripped off. And that is the value that I actually bring to this transaction. It's not just simply finding and buying and selling a home. Any agent can do that. But what I can do is not only I can find you the right property to renovate because I know what the kind of pre-cost is and the post-sellout cost, but I also know what the budget is for renovations, and I can build a pretty good business model for you to kind of flip houses and make a lot of money in real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, probably this is the way to go. Another way I was thinking about is the empty nesters and downsizing because also I like this direction to explore, and maybe you can recommend something in this way.
Well, I think, and I'm happy to, but I guess my first maybe thought would be figure out one niche first. Like it's almost like, build one restaurant first, get that restaurant profitable before you move on and open up your next restaurant. There is I'm not saying you can't do the downsizers. It's just a bigger learning curve. And with downsizers, a lot of them have already, bought and sold homes a bunch of times. And so sometimes they will tend to go more with the more experienced agents or local experts or people who have been buying and selling those homes. But I'm not saying you can't do that right now. I'm just saying the easy button, the easiest way for you to probably make the most money in the quickest time would be to stay in the reno because you're going to feel very confident there. I mean, in the downsize world, here's typically what it is. They're between 55 and 65. Their kids have, left the house. They left a little while ago. Now the kids are starting to get married, and they're thinking about either moving downtown, like into downtown condos, or depending on what areas they are, moving into local condos. But a lot of them have a large search criteria. They're like, well, I could go to Windsor, I could go to London. Hey, we could even go to Peterborough. We could go to Coburg. There's lots of options. So it's a very long process for them because they have to gather a lot of information before they actually make a decision, and they don't even have to make a decision.
I see.
You know what I mean? Whereas someone who wants to buy, flip, and rent out properties is there because they want to get a return on the money, or they want to kind of like, hey, I'm selling my condo, I want to buy a semi, but to buy the pretty ones in like Bloor West or some of the really prized neighborhoods, I'm going to be competing against all of the other buyers, and I just can't afford to lose in multiple offers or end up, winning but paying like hundreds of $1,000s over just to get that property. So why don't I go look for the ugly duckling right now? And that ugly duckling I can turn into like a really beautiful home and maybe stay and raise my kids or flip it and move to something I really like.
Yeah, or maybe the solution to supplement your mortgage with a basement rent.
Exactly, and that's what a lot of people don't even understand what is like the like basement rents, which have really skyrocketed from $600 to $1,000 a month to up to $2,000 a month, and with today's mortgage rates, that would carry $400,000-$500,000 worth of mortgage. So
Yeah.
I think this. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell, I have a big experience with renting a basement, and I had tens and tens of tenants, and I never had a case nobody then they fail to pay me. I know
Right.
how to screen tenants,
Right.
so it's also experience I can use
Yeah,
in a real
absolutely.
estate transaction.
Yeah. So what I would probably do is on Facebook, I would probably go to Facebook. So I'm going to kind of give you maybe a bit of the marketing solution right now on how you can actually generate leads in order to kind of get a steady flow of people to help you grow your business. There's probably three things I'm going to tell you. Number one is the easiest button is to create a Facebook business page called, My Fix Flip and Rental Service, or, Fix Flip and Rent Toronto, Fix Flip and Rent Etobicoke, something along the lines that clearly defines what you're offering on your business page, right?
I already have a business page, but it's not defined exactly what you tell.
That's
So
right, and that's the problem. Every agent already has their business page, but most of them are trying to be everything to everybody, and they end up being nothing to nobody because they're just trying to be like. It's almost like, hey, I sell in Pickering, I sell in Aurora, I sell in, these areas. Like, I'll go anywhere to sell a house, and they're putting like, oh, like just they're putting general stuff there because they don't want to kind of limit their market. It's almost like if you ever see those contractor vans, and there's like
mhm.
one contractor van will have the one day painting company, and I think it's pretty clear what they do to your house. They'll paint it in one day. Or the 5 day kitchen company, they'll do that. But then you'll have the rest of the white vans, and it'll say, we do eavesdrop, kitchens, bathrooms, electrical, windows, landscaping, snow removal. Like they're everything that you could possibly want. They put it all on the side of their van, and everyone looks at it and goes, "Yeah, they're just trying to be everything to everyone." So the
Yes,
more specific
it's
you can
irritation.
get, yeah, and you can have multiple Facebook business pages in each niche. You can have your own business page where you're still doing the rest of your stuff, but this one is where you start posting content about how to fix and flip properties. Before and afters, like, oh, here's a property. Hey, listen, just want to let you know I bought this property a couple of years ago and paid this. We put this much in the reno, and this was the profit we made on it. And you don't have to put the address; you can just put the area, right? And what you're
Yes.
trying to do is to start posting and positioning yourself in the marketplace as the expert, so that if I'm looking on Facebook, or if you want to do Facebook targeted ads to reach me, you can look for anyone in this postal code who likes renovations, HGTV, any of those design shows. You can actually target customers just by the interest that they have, and then they come to your page or they see your ad and they're like, "Oh my God, here's someone who's already done it, and here's what he does." Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. I know. Facebook advertising is very targeted.
Yeah, very targeted. Um, and then I think the second thing I would do is you're going to find that your business will grow into the conversations that you have with everyone else. And what I mean by that is when someone says to you, "Hey, Alexander, how's real estate?" Instead of you saying, what most agents say, "Well, it's really busy, there's some multiple offers," or "It's a good time to buy." Like there's this kind of typical canned response that people have. If if you could change the game a bit, and when someone says, "How's real estate?" you say, "Hey, it's great. I just helped this couple who bought this house here, and they were able to do renos, and I helped them with, and they flipped it for this, and they were able to make this much profit." Like, who do you know who is thinking about doing a flip? Or if you don't have any customers yet, you can say, "Hey," then someone says, "How's real estate?" You go, "Great. I specialize in helping people build wealth through real estate. And we do that by buying homes, flipping them for a profit. I've done tons of renovations myself. I know exactly how not to get ripped off. I know how to rent. I've dealt with tenants." This is the conversation that as you start having more of them with everyone you meet, you'll start building a tribe of people around it.
Yeah, I like it.
Does that make
Good
sense?
idea.
Yeah.
Yes, very
And then
much.
the third thing I would do is I would go on MLS and I would start with a very small area that you're most familiar with, whether it be the Kingsway or Etobicoke. And I know there's going to be lots of people listening to this call who don't really live around Toronto, but I'm really just trying to say stay in your local neighborhood that you know the most. And could you find, or even in a like a an area, maybe a radius of 10 kilometers from where you live or 6 miles, of the 10 best fix and flip properties on the market. And could you start posting those on your Facebook page? Here's my pick of the week. This property right now, I think, is this. I think we could, I went and saw it. I think we could put this much money into it, and I think we could be able to flip it for this. Could you do that?
Yes, of course. It's a great idea,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, well, that's how it works, right? Like, that's the game. The game is, okay, I'm going to go and work in an area of my business that I already know already, but what's the carrot that I can give to try to find? It's like fishing, what's the lure I can use to catch this type of fish? And the carrot or the lead generation vehicle is not just listed, just sold cards, which everyone else does. It's very targeted. Here's my pick of the week of the best reno property. Or you could even profile properties over the last year that you've seen that have been bought and have been sold, and here's what the profit was, and estimate what the renovation costs are. I mean, you just have to be careful of all the rules. You can't identify them right, and by address. There can't be identifying, but you could say, you know, 401 and Young. Like you could do areas, and you could start doing that kind of information to the consumer.
I see. Rent estimation and common pictures of the property and location. I mean area, not address.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's another broker's listing, you're probably going to have to get permission, to kind of do this. But I mean, you could do summaries also. I mean, ideally, pictures are worth 1,000 words, but you could also summarize it. And then I think this is the fourth thing that I would do if I was you, is what if you started doing either a daily tour or a weekend tour of homes to be renovated and flipped? What if on every Saturday, just between 11 and 1, you said, I'm going to be at this house starting at 11 a.m., and we're going to see these 5 properties, and each house I go to is going to take about a half an hour because I'm going to show you what you can do, how much it's going to cost, and how much money you'll make on this. Like, who would want to go on that tour,
Uh, I I don't understand right now how to do it exactly, but idea it's pretty good. Pretty good
Yeah.
idea.
So the way you do it exactly is you start doing targeted Facebook ads, calling your Saturday tour of homes to flip, or we have to kind of think up the probably right marketing lingo. But what if it was like the Saturday, like all week long, you were building up that these were the 5 houses that we're going to be on, and just meet me here. I'll be at this. Like you could have 4 or 5 couples show up and take all 5 of those couples at the same time to the next 5 homes. Like that's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing about positioning yourself as, hey, it's just a tour. It's no cost, it's no obligation. But I'm gonna, it's your way of almost demonstrating your knowledge with people in a very kind of laid back, informal way. That people like after that tour, they're like, oh my God, Alex, I can't do this without
Uh, is it involved to get into the property?
you. Is it what? Sorry.
Involved to to look at the property inside as well?
Not a problem. All you have to do is you just book just like you would to show any other buyer. You just book an appointment through that office and say, I'd like to show this property between 1 and 1:30, and then you call the next one and say, I'm going to show this property between 1:30 and 2, and you can bring as many people as you want through the property.
Ah, I see. I see. I understand right now. It's the property on the market.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's properties on the market. And then what I could also, I mean, this would be the next level, and but I think this would be really cool, is what if you could start targeting either for sale by owners who have like rundown properties, or on your business page or Google AdWords, start saying, if you have a house that needs to be renoed, give me a call. I have 10, 5, 10. You might even have, after doing these tours for a while, you might have 20 or 30 people who are looking to buy a renovated property. So then couldn't you go back to a farm area and drive by all the houses that you look at from the outside, because you can usually tell who needs to be renovated and not, and just simply put a postcard in their mailbox that's very direct to them and said, listen, I'm working with 12 couples who are looking to buy a home like yours in this area. If you don't want the muss and fuss of going on to MLS, give me a call. It's very confidential, and I'm happy to bring some of those buyers by. So now you use Facebook to get your buyers, and then use the buyers to farm back to get your sellers directly. And then if you did this really well, you could almost create your own MLS system, right? It's Alex, buyer, seller. How fun would that be?
Brilliant idea.
Yeah. And that's the game with niche markets. I mean, that's why I did the book, because the game is all you have to do is figure out the code of how do I go and get these people. But it all begins with you just bringing what you know, because you're going to be very confident in front of a buyer talking about renovations, but you won't be that confident standing in a house in an area you've never been to and people start asking you questions about the area. You'll just be like, yeah, I have no idea. You know?
I see.
Yeah.
Great, great.
So does that make sense?
Yes, it's great.
Yeah. So, and
it's
that's
like a lead machine.
It's exactly what it is, right? But it's targeted, and what you have to realize is your value is so superior compared to most other agents who don't have your background, and that will give you the confidence. So, although you might be brand new in the business, like the technical stuff is pretty easy to learn, right? How do we do an offer? How do we do a waiver? All that other stuff. It's the lead generation machine and the conversion machine is where you really take off, and that's where your real estate career goes.
Right? I see.
Isn't that fun?
Thank you very much for the
Oh,
help.
no problem. But then here's, I guess I'll give you the kind of last idea, and then I'll just open it up if you have any questions, and then we'll wrap it up. But the best thing you could do with your time right now is get really, really amazing at your product knowledge. I mean, you already know how to do the flips, but start looking at the areas that you believe have the best potential to do the best flips. And then as soon as you see the properties coming out on MLS, get in there quickly and you go and see them yourselves. Because you'll be able to walk into a house just like the other houses you bought. You know, you had to look at a lot, right, before you finally decided the one that you were going to buy.
Yes.
You'll be able to go, this is the one where I think I can make lots of money. And here's the last thing I would tell you, and I think this is going to be the funnest idea ever, is what if you joint ventured with all of these buyers? What if you said, listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the property for you. I'm going to negotiate the agreement. I'm going to oversee the renovations, and I'm going to fill it with renters. You have to buyer, your job is to put down the down payment and the closing costs. And when we flip this property, you get your down payment back first, and then we share the profit.
This looks like a business.
It is a business, and this is why your niche market can be a
mean,
massive business.
I mean, not just selling, buying properties, but it's like making business with your client.
Yeah. Yeah. And because you know what? A lot of your clients or a lot of people you know have a lot of money right now and don't have any time and would love to invest in real estate, but they keep hearing, oh, it's a hassle to be a landlord, and it's a myth, because we know most wealth is created by buying property. Very few people actually sell income properties. They hold them for a long time. But here's your opportunity to talk to people and say, listen, it's your money. You know, I'm going to do the flip. I'm going to do the reno for you. We're going to fill it with tenants, and we're going to build wealth together. And I'm a partner in this every single step of the way.
Yeah.
And then you just nail this one part, and then you can duplicate this model in any city in Ontario or in North America.
Yeah, also great idea.
Isn't that fun?
Partnership with your client to do flipping.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, you know, it solves their selfish problem and your selfish problem. They come up with the capital, you bring your skills and find the property, you do the flip. you know, um, you do a joint venture agreement, so you don't have to register all these companies. It's just a joint venture that you're doing with one off, and you might find one person who might want to do 10 of these with you. You might find 10 people who want to do one of these. You might eventually sit there and go, you know what? I'm going to raise $2 million in capital from 10 investors, and I'm going to go, and that's what I'm going to do for the next couple of years. I'm just going to be buying and flipping properties, and we're going to be sharing the profits.
Yes, this is, by the way, idea I was thinking about a few years ago.
Yeah. Because everyone wants, I mean, a lot of people don't are looking for a return on their money, and so by default they'll put it into like the stock market, right, which can go up and down, or they'll buy
Yes.
like a single condo. And I don't know, I'm not, you know, I'm sure over time the condo will be fine, but there's not a lot of condos you can buy right now as a first-time investor that will actually buy and break even and give you any type of return. You know, you're usually looking at the return further down the road, where there's still lots of flips that are possible where you can do it. So
Yes,
there you
that's
go.
right.
So do you have any questions, or you good?
Basically, not.
Do you think these ideas will work?
I got the food to think about.
Yeah. And all it just starts is with one step, and that's learning the market, which you already know part areas, but getting a bit more, getting your Facebook business page, putting profile properties up there that are lures to other people who want to do this, offering them no cost, no obligation daily tours of the property, and then eventually building an investor syndicate where you can be in business with these people, buying and flipping property all the time. You know,
Yes,
how fun is that?
it's very, very good idea.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on the call today.
Thank you very much for your help, and thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure.